Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. So I'm Colonel Perez, and this is the start of an initiative called Monthly Bite-Size PME. And the vision here is that we're going to do this for 30 minutes, hence bite size. The first 15 minutes, I'm going to brief. The second 15 minutes, open it up for Q&A, but certainly if you've got questions, please jump right in and ask that question. No need to wait to the end. The topics, I'm going to try to make them as inclusive as possible by component. So it's meant to be helpful for these topics. Anyone, regardless if you're active reserve, active duty, or SMCR, regardless if you're officer enlisted, regardless if you're company grade, field grade, etc. EXO and I have timed these topics to kind of match MNRA's timetable for various admin things that happen, like promotions and things like that. For this one, we're doing the awards because it's coming at the heels of annual training. And so this is kind of like award season. And then ultimately, I want to do some paradigm shifts across the regiment. So oftentimes we're kind of late in things, or we have errors in things because we often don't know how to do it. So through the PME, hopefully it gives folks some education so that we can become more timely and have less mistakes. So jumping straight into the topic of awards writing. So this is my personal process. Everyone has their own. This is the one that I use, so I hope it's helpful for everyone. And I'm calling it a visual because of the way in which I've displayed it here. There are 5 steps, and so in the course of the next 10 minutes or so, I'm going to go through each one of these steps. Okay. So the first step in my process for awards writing is, first and foremost, the most important thing is to get to know the Marine. So for purposes of this session, I'm showing a picture of a Marine that I had to write an award on. This is not his real name. He was a captain. We'll just call him Captain Rob. I met him on deployment. He was our adjutant. And midway through that deployment, it was becoming apparent that I would be writing, that he was going to get an award and I was going to be the one who was writing it. So immediately I felt a sense of responsibility to get to know this Marine. So the nature of our work was I did spend time with him naturally, but I was a little more attentive, knowing that I needed to observe the great things that he was doing in order to do justice to his award. So I observed his leadership style, observed his work, and especially tried to get a grasp on its impact. And what I would say is, I think one of the biggest deterrents we have for writing awards is that we don't have time. So if you're questioning if you don't have time, my first response would be find the time. This is what it means to be a leader, is to make the time and to prioritize things like this. I like to say that I can't give Marines more money for the hard work they do, but I can certainly take the time to write them an award. And then if writing that award happens to be a surprise to you. So I had the benefit of, we knew early on Rob was a great Marine, that he was going to get an award. But if it comes to a surprise to you and you're given this task, another method I like to do is I'll just straight out interview the Marine. More oftentimes, they're more than willing to do that. They're kind of honored that they're going to get an award, so they'd be willing to give me that time. And so you could use this process that I'm going to show to you as a way to prepare questions for that. And then worst comes to worst, maybe I'd ask a Marine for their fitness report accomplishments if it's like an end of tour award and for whatever reason their RS can't write the award on them. So step 1 is to get to know the Marine. Okay, so I get to know the Marine, and I like to identify 3 adjectives about this Marine that really describes who they are. And that helps me build a mental model of how this is going to flow. I also use those 3 adjectives because as I actually get down to the writing, which is further on in the process, I might look up in a thesaurus, what are alternate words for these things? It kind of keeps me on track and keeps me within a box in which to write about someone like Rob. Okay. If this is an end of tour award, typically we write those as chronologies, like from when they started all the way up through the end, the things that they did in between. We might throw in like major initiatives, projects, things like that. This happened to be an impact award that we were giving him, and I was glad that I was told it was going to be an impact award. So it was primarily project based. It was, what were the things that he was working on that made him so awesome that the command felt he needed an award. And I would say whether it's an end of tour award or it's an impact award, you're still going to use this 3 adjectives approach. Okay. So then the next thing that I do once I have the 3 adjectives in mind and I've gotten to know the Marine either because I've worked with them personally or I've interviewed them is I literally look at these snips on the right-hand side of the page, these bullets, to get me in the mood of writing an award, because award writing is not something that we do all the time, and there's a certain way to write it. And over the years, I've collected these snips on the right-hand side that I thought were really impactful, really like packed a punch whenever if I'm reading the award. And so I just keep this running list in my files, and then I just break it out when it's award writing time to get me into that mode of writing. So I'll just read a few of them. Following a flawless transition to his or her new role. I thought that was a really nice way to think things. Or having a deep-seated appreciation for the challenges and opportunities of whatever their billet was. So I'm going to make these slides available to you so you can take a look at them. I've got actually a couple of pages on them. All right. And what I would offer too is that on the last bullet here, if a Marine is retiring, more often than not, we like to say that this award is the culmination of, let's say, 30 years of honorable and faithful leadership. 30 is a big amount, 25 is a big amount. I have seen these sometimes for 20, but I mean, it's not a wrong thing to include it. But certainly if it's over 20 years, you absolutely want to include it. And typically for retirement awards, we usually do a +1. We usually would bump up that award by 1. So let's say it's a major who's prior enlisted, and let's say that for their billet, it's, let's say it's a Navy comm is usually what that billet, if provided they did well. Maybe we would bump it up to an MSM because that Marine has, 22, 25 years of service. And that just kind of gives it a little bit of a boost when it's going before an awards board. Okay. Okay. The other thing, so the next thing I like to do is gather my resources. So one of the resources that I use is this awards packet. And let me switch over to what that looks like here. And I'll send this out as well. So in this awards packet, I've got all the various authorities and the due dates here. So if it's a Navy Achievement Medal, it's usually due 60 days before, per the order, before the presentation, and then it goes up by 30 days from there. Okay. But in this, and actually it was Rob who gave this to me during deployment, and I've just kind of kept it up over the years and cleaned it up. So I include the first and the last lines for the awards, and then the character limit. IAPS does include the character limit, but we don't typically go into IAPS and type things out. We typically do it in Word and then bring it on over. So this is a good reference. So I've got it for a CERCOM, a NAM, a Navy comm, and an MSM, because those are typically the awards that we write. But in this, I've got all the references, the raw references, and then, for what it's worth, you can just keep it. I've got information on combat awards because this is, I met Rob during combat and we needed to write a bunch of awards there. So you can just have this as a reference, okay? So switching back to the PME. So I have my awards packet. If this is a true surprise to you, you absolutely don't know the Marine, you can't interview them, then yes, I would ask for their fit rep accomplishments and then kind of go from there. But usually those are not well written, and I would really try to make hard contact with the Marine to be able to write this. Worse comes to worse, absolute worse, is if the fitness reports are not written well, you could reach out to the Marine and ask them to give you bullets. I have had to do this before, and it's usually because this was a Marine who maybe it was a year ago they left, no one remembers them. The Marines, the staff swear to me that this Marine deserves an award, so I'll write it up. And then I'll say, hey, I really don't know you, we can't connect, give me some bullets, or give me some bullets and I will also interview you as well. And so that would be another resource. And then putting it all together. So it's kind of like the way we write essays in school. So typically you're limited to 2 pages, and thankfully for that, because it forces us to be concise. So think about, you want probably about 5 paragraphs. So what I like to do is I will write the second paragraph first, and I'm going to keep my visual of Rob in mind, those 3 adjectives, right? And if it's an end of tour, you're going to do a chronology typically. So if when that Marine first entered the unit all the way up to the very end, and first paragraph is like the beginning stages of when the greatness they were doing at the unit. If it's an impact award, then it's by project. And so it'd be like, hey, I want to be able to identify 3 impactful things that this Marine did, and then keeping those adjectives in mind. So I start with paragraph 2, talk about what they did, and then its impact. You absolutely should need to be talking about the impact, because otherwise it's just kind of the work they did. Then I go on to the 3rd paragraph. Again, like I was taught in school, what would be the 3rd paragraph? It's just either a separate project, so a number 2 project, or a different way in which that same project, because it's an impact award, maybe it had a different level of impact. Maybe it was higher headquarters impact, and paragraph 1 is unit impact, right? And then I go on to the 3rd paragraph, right? And then throughout, I'm keeping in mind, and if I'm using any adjectives, I'm using those 3 adjectives that I have in mind for that Marine. And then I get down to the 5th paragraph, or the last paragraph. You're not limited to 3 paragraphs. You can do more than that, but typically 2 pages, like I mentioned, for the award. You're going to write the conclusion last. And you want to do that last because you have hopefully sat down and done this in one swoop. It's super fresh in your mind, and you're basically summarizing paragraphs 2, 3, and 4. Okay. And then you're going to take that conclusion, that last paragraph, and you're going to restate it in your intro. Again, kind of learn that in school as the method. If you don't have a clear path, then you just jump into the body of what it is you're writing, come to your conclusion, restate it in the beginning. So it kind of is a neat little sandwich. Okay. And then afterwards, I don't walk away from the award because it's fresh in my mind. I immediately go to the citation, because it's clear in my mind where I'm going with this award, and I can just bang out that citation. And so that's basically what I do. The other thing that I do is, a lot of times I get stuck on the phrasing. And so I have no shame. I will consult ChatGPT. And there's some constraints that we need to think about when we use ChatGPT. Okay. You have to absolutely use caution. So I use ChatGPT as a collaborator. It's not for me to write the award myself, or for it to write the award for me. If I have ChatGPT write something and I'm not feeding it a lot of information, the results of that, whatever it is you're saying in that award, is going to feel a lot off track. And you want this to be personal and specific to that Marine. Again, you're rewarding them for great work, right? It's the least you can do as a leader. You never, ever use real names. You never use unit names. You don't use dates. You don't use any other identifiers, okay? Because this is out for the World Wide Web to consume. And so in my example here, let me show it to you, make it a little bit bigger, is that I just threw in some words, just making it up. So maybe I'm stuck on a phrasing. I'm like, hey, upon transferring to, and I put the unit, because I'm not going to name the unit, this captain, because I'm not going to say his real name. He took charge, he led, let's call it remote PME. He talked about supply chain concepts that were connected with force design. I even misspelled force design intentionally. Oh, and what made this really awesome was he did it during COVID. He leveraged his MBA and his supply chain knowledge. It challenged all of us. I'm mentally exhausted at this point, and I need someone to collaborate with ChatGPT for it. So I'll say, improve this, put that information in. ChatGPT gives me an answer. It says, upon assuming command of the unit, well, Rob didn't assume command. Captain spearheaded remote professional military education. He integrated advanced supply chain concepts with force design and the challenges posed by COVID. Well, that's incorrect too, or amid the challenges. And then drawing on his MBA, blah, blah, blah. So I still don't like it. It's still not right. So I'll say, hey, refine this more. And then ChatGPT comes up with this, and it says, upon arriving at the unit, this captain spearheaded remote PME. Amid the challenges, that's still a little bit wrong. He integrated advanced supply chain concepts with force design amid the challenges posed by COVID-19. Now that's correct. And then drawing on his MBA and deep expertise in supply chain, he actively engaged and challenged the team, fostered innovation and operational excellence. That's pretty darn good. I'll take that again. And so That's just a quick example of how I use ChatGPT. I really use it sparingly, and I only use it when at the point where I'm brain dead. And there's this saying that says, you start with a human and you end with a human when you use AI. And so that's my process is I'm starting with the human, I'm feeding it my sentence that I can't figure out because I'm brain dead. And then I'm looking at what the machine is turning out and I'm saying, that's not right, that's not right, that's really close. And then I'll take it from there. Okay. And so I already went over the due dates for the various awards. I've also included the awarding authority here. So just know that Colonel Boyd only has up to a Navy COM is his awarding authority. And then the 4th MLG commander or in other commands, if you leave this command and go on to other commands, even Marine Corps Marine Corps Systems Command, it's an MSM at that level. And then it's really at the kind of uber commander level that they can give out Legions of Merits. Okay. So at this point, I'm going to stop and I'm going to open it up for questions. So go ahead and take yourself off mute, or if you want to go ahead and just chat onto the side, I can read those out loud too. Okay, no questions? Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and end it there. I hope everyone found this helpful. And Colonel Boyd, if you can just stop the recording, and if the meeting goes to you, the recording, if you could send it to me and I'll post it on Teams. So, okay, everyone, I hope you found this useful, and I will do this the same time next month, a different topic, and I'll announce what that will be a few weeks out before that PME. Okay. All right, out here. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.